Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Griffin, and I'm a filmmaker based out of Orange County, California. And today we're going to be talking about the Canon R5. So over the last 3 months of shooting with the R5, I've really got the chance to know the camera and kind of learn what I like about it and what I don't like about it. I've had the chance to use it just shooting for fun. I'm out with my fiance and my new puppy. I've had the chance to use it on some pretty big professional sets and really kind of everything in between. So what I wanted to do is take this video and do it kind of as a follow-up to some of the past videos that I made and really just talk about some of the things I like, some of the things I don't like, and whether or not I would buy this camera again. So with that, we'll get right into it. So the first thing I really like about this camera is the image in 8K RAW. It is super detailed. It really doesn't have much noise at all. It's full frame and it looks amazing. It really even holds up to the image in my C500 Mark II. I think that's really incredible for a camera this size and this cost to hold up to a camera that's like basically Canon's top of the line cinema camera. So I think they are packing a huge punch in a really small camera body. Second thing I really like with this camera is the autofocus. The autofocus is better in most cases than even the cinema cameras like the C500 Mark II and the C200 and the C300 Mark III. It's really top of the line. The ability to track subjects is incredible. It's got really nice eye autofocus. And what's really cool about it too is it can find the subject even when the face is really small in the frame. That's one of those situations where the cinema cameras like the C500 Mark II and the C200 kind of struggle. If you're in a situation like where we are right now, where I'm only a couple feet from the lens, it's perfect. It's never gonna mess up. But if you say you're 15 feet back, or if it's like less than ideal lighting conditions and the light's a little bit lower, it's not as good. So that's one of the areas that the R5 really shines. Another thing that's really cool about the autofocus is it's got animal eye autofocus. So like I mentioned earlier, we got a new puppy and it just did an incredible job. I was taking some portraits of, this is Luna by the way, but we were taking some photos of Luna and the way that it just grabs onto the eye, it's just really incredible. It makes it easy for someone who's not a super advanced photographer to just go out and capture some stunning portraits of their dog or their cat or whatever. So I think from a usability standpoint, that's something that's really cool. So third thing I like about this camera that I think should be on every single camera, including the 1DX series, is a flip screen. This just makes it so much easier. It's not just for vloggers or whatever, like I don't really vlog or anything, you know, and if you do vlog, it's a huge benefit. Like you need a flip screen for sure. But if you just want to compose your shots from say like a lower angle, like you're shooting more from like your chest area or your waist area, or if you want to shoot like high up, you can just tilt the screen down and it makes it so much easier to compose your shots. So the next thing I really like about the R5 is the fact that it makes pretty much the perfect gimbal camera. What's really cool about this camera is it fits right on the Ronin S with no problem whatsoever. I shoot with this and I don't have to rig up another screen to it, another monitor, like I do with my 1DX or with a C200B if I put that on there. And just the fact that it's so light makes it a dream to carry around. Like you can carry this around all day and really not get tired. Whereas if I put something like the C200 on there or the 1DX, you really do notice the extra weight. I don't know the exact weight. I think it's probably about 2 pounds difference between those cameras, but it definitely makes a significant difference. And then plus when you add a monitor on, maybe it's closer to 2.5 pounds or even 3 pounds, depending what monitor you use. What I've been doing actually is I'll put the R5 balanced on my Ronin S, and then I'll leave it there. Even when I'm transporting, I'll leave it balanced on the Ronin S when I'm transporting from location to location. And it's really just kind of like this perfect setup. And what I find is I'll actually go and use the gimbal a little bit more just because all I have to do is just bing, power it on, and I'm ready to go. Whereas with like the C200, for example, the C200B, you have to strip the side handle off, the top handle off, you have to go re-rig a monitor on the Ronin S. It's like several steps to get to the place where you're actually ready to shoot. And with the R5, boom, you just pop the flip screen out, you just tap to track on the autofocus, and you're out shooting. And you can get some really nice looking shots. So last thing I would say that I really like about the R5 is this little adapter right here. Try to make that go in focus. Yep, there we go. So this little guy right here, this little thing slides, and what it does is it's like a built-in ND adapter. So I'll take that off. And what it does when you slide this, first of all, it makes the R5 accept EF lenses, which is really cool because I have a whole bunch of EF lenses already. And almost everything, or basically everything I have in my lineup is EF. So first of all, that solves that problem. But second of all, it's got that variable ND adapter. So it's just one of those things you don't have to think about packing an extra set of NDs and like screwing it onto the front of the lens, like that's such a headache. I hate doing that. And once you start shooting with a cinema camera that has built-in NDs, it makes it really tough to go back. So jumping into the things that I don't like about this camera, the first thing would have to be the overheating. That's one of the things, like when this camera first came out, everybody was talking about it, myself included. And it's very much a real issue. I would say what I found is you just have to shift your mindset. It's not going to be your A camera for sure, because it's not reliable if you're shooting in any of the high-end video codecs. Now, as a B camera, I still don't like it because I want to know, usually I'm running my A camera and my B camera the whole time. As a C camera or a D camera on bigger productions, that's kind of where I found the sweet spot for it. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a really great gimbal camera. When you're shooting on the gimbal, you're not shooting for like 30-minute takes, 45-minute takes. You're shooting for like 3 minutes. You know, like I just shot this project up at UCLA, and we were using C500s and C200s. And we use this as a D camera to just capture some really nice cinematic gimbal movements. And that saved us from having to rent a Movi. So, you know, it does have a place on bigger sets and in professional video production. I just don't personally think it's a good A camera or B camera because of the overheating limitation. So the second thing I don't like about this camera are the codecs that it has. The high-end codec is the 8K RAW, which it looks incredible. I really love it. However, pretty much no machines that I know of are going to be able to edit that smoothly, or at least none that I have. And the lower end H.265 codec is actually even worse. It's smaller file sizes. It's really nice 10-bit 422. That said, it's basically like the hardest codec for most computers to decode and edit, at least right now at the time I'm making this video. So that's one of those things, like if you look at some of the older cameras from Canon, like the 1DX Mark II, for example, it had H.264 built in, and my computer could edit that no problem, the 4K. And it can't edit the 4K out of the R5. So that's a real bummer. The next thing I don't like about the R5 is, for some reason, when you shoot in time-lapse mode, there's no log available. So you can't shoot in Canon Log 1, Canon Log 2, Canon Log 3. It only allows you to shoot in like the standard picture profile or neutral, or just like the regular ones. I don't know why that is. It seems like it's just, you know, I'm not like a Canon engineer or something, but it seems like it would just be as simple as if you could shoot video in Canon Log 1, you should probably also be able to shoot the time-lapse mode in Canon Log 1. That way when you're doing your project, if you bring in a time-lapse that's already built from the camera, you could just use the same color correction on that. So that's just another limitation with the camera. Next thing I don't like about the R5 is it doesn't really allow for dual card slot recording, except when you're shooting in RAW mode. So if you're shooting in the compressed H.265, like for example, if you're gonna shoot weddings, I imagine most people aren't gonna be shooting weddings in 8K RAW, they'd probably shoot in the compressed codec. And that's something that you're gonna wanna have an automatic backup on. And you don't have the ability to shoot to both cards at the same time when you're shooting in that H.265 codec. So that's a limitation. And you know, the Sony cameras have had that forever, like even in their mirrorless line. I still don't know why Canon doesn't have that available. I would really like to see them change that or potentially update that via firmware. The last thing I don't like about the R5 is the EF to EOS R adapter, the thing I was just telling you guys about that I like. I swear I'm not crazy. It doesn't have the ability to go in like 2-stop, 4-stop, 6-stop, 8-stop, or 10-stop increments, because that would make it a lot nicer match for the cinema line. That's how it is on basically all the cinema cameras. It's not a variable adapter. That would be one of the cool things. So when you're trying to match the cameras, usually what I do when I'm on set is I'll call, okay guys, we're at, you know, ISO 800, you know, 5600 white balance, 2 stops ND. And everybody just matches the settings across the board. Now with the R5, you can't just call it like 2 stops of ND. You have to just dial it in, and there's no waveform either. So it makes it a little more difficult. You have to use the histogram, which isn't quite as accurate for the way I like to do things. So, you know, it's not a perfect way to match to one of the cinema cameras, is I guess what I'm getting at here. Okay, so would I buy this camera again? To be honest, yeah, I think I probably would. For me right now, I have a ton of EF glass. With that adapter, it's a really sweet setup. It's a nice light camera that shoots really high quality video. And as long as you have the mindset, like you know that it's not gonna be your A camera and shoot in those highest quality modes, it's gonna overheat in the 4K 120, it's gonna overheat in the 8K mode. So if you know that you're just gonna use it for more like short bursts, or you know, you're gonna throw it on a gimbal, for example, like I do, and use it alongside some of the cinema cameras, it's a really great option. And I fully recognize probably the majority of people don't have multiple other cinema cameras that they're shooting with, and this is probably going to be their main camera. So for those types of people, you really got to look at some of the competition out there. You need to look at probably the C70 that's coming out. I did have the chance to shoot with that, a pre-production model. It was really cool. That's an amazing camera. I've got one on pre-order. So if you guys are interested in that camera, definitely going to be comparing that to the C200, C500 Mark II with the speed booster, the R5, and you guys know the whole deal. So keep an eye on the channel for that. But that's a really great looking camera, as well as the A7S III. The A7S III is a really solid performer, and if you don't have any Canon glass, that may potentially be a better option for you. You just probably need to look at that, as well as some of the Blackmagic cameras. Once you rig those cameras out, they're pretty sweet too. So as far as the R5 goes though, if you need to stay in the Canon lineup, you already have EF glass, like myself, you're not really looking at other brands. You're probably looking at just Canon for the most part. It's an amazing stills camera. I love it for stills, really solid. It's lightweight, it's got a flip screen. I find myself grabbing this camera over my 1DX when I'm just going out to shoot, kind of just for fun, and I want something light. Like I went with my fiance Delaney and my new puppy. We went and took some photos of the pumpkin patch. Do I want to carry my 5-pound 1DX with me? No. When I'm shooting professionally, I do 100%. I like that camera better. But when I'm just shooting as a hobby, I like the R5 better. Or alternatively, as a gimbal camera. So those are the two use cases I found. It's different for everybody though. I would personally buy it again just because I have a use case for it. So just make sure you make an educated decision and you make sure you buy the camera that's right for you. So anyways, guys, hope you liked this video. Hope you got something out of it, and really appreciate you guys sticking around and checking it out. So if you like this kind of content, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.